We're going to move on to the next presentation. We have Mr. Kevin Knowlton of the Cyber Innovation Center out of Bossier City. And he wants to discuss with us their plans to help the Arkansas STEM Coalition and the school systems build up their STEM.
Definitely.
In Arkansas.
Fantastic. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I want to kind of tailor this to the audience a little bit, so I'm going to go off script a little bit. But we are the Cyber Innovation Center. We're headquartered out of Bossier City, Louisiana, and what we are is a hub for an economic and workforce development engine for our region. And back in 2007, we were founded, we built this, and we were actually supposed to be targeted towards the Air Force Cyber Command. It was supposed to be put at Barksdale Air Force Base. It was since moved to down in San Antonio. So we innovated, we retooled, and actually we now have the capability to support the Air Force's Global Strike Command that's down in Barksdale. So we really have a unique mission. One is support the military and all of their efforts through cyberspace, as well as now the nuclear command through the Air Force, as well as economic development, workforce development, and K-12 education. So we have a National Cyber Research Park that has various companies. CSRA just stood up its first integrated technology center on our research park, 800 jobs. Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop are all again on our research park. These are some of the buildings. Research Institute that's focused specifically on nuclear proliferation, and it's called LTRI, Louisiana Tech Research Institute. This is our computer science company now, CSRA, and their headquarters there. So we've got our hands in a lot of different things, but one thing I want to talk about here is education and how we can, as a state, whether it's Louisiana, Arkansas, but most importantly as a country, can really solve this workforce issue. Because if we're going to, as recruiters are sitting back there in the back going, yeah, I need a talented workforce. I need a pool of qualified individuals that I can bring on board and begin solving the mission. Air Force has that problem. Any branch of the military has that problem. Industry has that problem. Educators have that problem. It's an ever-changing world. When I bought my refrigerator 2 weeks ago, she has a picture of it up there. That blasted refrigerator wants to know my Wi-Fi password. Why does my refrigerator need to know my Wi-Fi password? It's convenience, right? It wants to order a water filter when it's ready. And it's like, no, you can't control me like that. I'm old school like that. But that's today's society. When I was in the classroom every day, once a week, I'd ask my students, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know, doctor, lawyer, veterinarian, pharmacist, being from Louisiana, Drew Brees. But one of the students one day asked me, he goes, Mr. Knowlton, how can you expect me to answer that question? Well, what do I want to be when I grow up? When I don't know what all the options are. It's kind of like, dang, you're right. What am I doing as an educator to introduce my students to what a malware expert is, a data security analyst, cybersecurity expert, computer science, digital forensics? What am I doing as an educator to introduce my students to those things? And so that really kind of got my mind spinning. What can we do? So with the model of the CIC, trying to solve the workforce issue, and this mindset of how do we make sure that we're introducing students to the jobs, the workforce of tomorrow, we've kind of come to a point. And we've developed what we call a cyber interstate. And this cyber interstate consists of curricula that we give away to educators. Every K-12 educator in America has access to this really, really cool stuff at no cost. Okay, yeah. There's a cost for everything, right? We actually were contracted by the Department of Homeland Security, and we are their national model for STEM, cybersecurity, and computer science education. We receive $4 million a year to develop this really, really cool stuff. and to disseminate it down to K-12 educators. So when you see educators, you go, hey, I got a guy that's got some cool stuff that's talking about cybersecurity. And when they're going to ask you, how much does it cost? You're going to say, did you pay your taxes this year? They're going to go, yeah. It's like, hey, I paid for it. So what we've done is we're in all 50 states, we're in 2 U.S. territories, and we're providing resources to K-12 educators. So at a high level, STEM foundations, kindergarten through 5th grade, it is important to begin introducing students to STEM at an early age. When I was an assistant principal, I was doing a teacher evaluation in a 2nd grade math class. The teacher was teaching 5 minus 3 equals 2. And the teacher says, Johnny's got 3 apples. He's got 5 friends coming over. How many apples does he need to go out and buy? And I'm in the back of the room going, During the PGP and the evaluation, I said, Ann, why'd you use apples? He was like, okay. I've always used apples. And some more here. I've always used apples. I was like, kids know what apples are. Use gigabytes next time. And use this story. Johnny's got a computer that's got 3 gigabytes of memory. He got this really awesome game for Christmas. It requires 5 gigabytes of memory. How many gigabytes does he need to add? What we've done is we have transformed how we teach something. It's the context that is the hook that we set in students so we can then begin having conversations of, what's a gigabyte? What's computer memory? Why is that important? We're not changing 5 minus 3 equals 2. We're changing the context in which it's taught. And so transforming that educator from this to this is where the impact's made. And whereas we come in and offer professional development, resources to empower those educators to go from apples to gigabytes. So in all of this curricula, that's the framework, that's the philosophy. STEM Explore, Discover, Apply in 6th grade, Math Fundamentals, Algebra 1. How many of y'all remember that dreaded Algebra 1 class? I was one of them going, I don't care why I need to solve for x. I don't care what x is, because I have no relevant context. We put that context in. Me as an adult, I have to solve for x every day. If I would have known that then, what I know now, if I'd have known the gigabyte story, I'd have been, hey, that's cool. Cyber literacy, this is where the fun stuff comes in, specific to what you guys are all focused on. Cyber literacy is a 9th grade course that's all things cyber. It introduces students to the fundamentals of circuitry, electricity, programming, and we introduce something that is cool and sexy, the robot, where students are programming it. They're using a solderless breadboard. They're actually applying that language into a computer, seeing an instant result. They're wiring it all together, and they're performing certain tasks. Cyber literacy. Cyber literacy 2, another course that talks about systems engineering, the makeup of that. And not to mention, all of these courses have a huge liberal arts play in there. And what that liberal arts play does is that it engages different types of students. So when we talk about privacy versus security, when you post an image to Facebook, that analogy is outdated because kids don't do Facebook anymore. It's this Snapchat business. Kids these days are. When they post something, who owns it? Privacy versus security. Apple and how the iPhone and the FBI were all going at each other because in San Bernardino because they want the data off of this thing. For security purposes, we got to protect their privacy. So having all those discussions in here. Cyber science, networkings, algorithms, computer infrastructures, et cetera, all in this. Physics. We take electricity, magnetism, heat and thermal transfer. And I know people start cringing when I talk about physics. I do too. We use cyber as a context. Again, how do you teach electricity and magnetism in a cyber context? Advanced math. I'm beating a dead horse. I know I am. and then computer science. These are all meaty 180 hours in educational world. That means full courses that you can use and begin introducing students. So as a recruiter, when you go into a high school and you're talking to those teachers, you're talking to the guidance counselors, here are some resources that the federal government has paid for that are excellent for your high school students. One last thing, and I'll kind of come off of this a little bit. Industry-based certifications are so critical, so important. Cyber literacy, CompTIA, IT fundamentals. Cyber literacy 2 and cyber science, A+, Net+. We're starting to add security into cyber science, so Security Plus. Kids coming out of high school who have industry-based certifications and credentialing are employable like that. Computer science, same deal. Certifications coming out. Now, we call this the cyber interstate. Some people use the word pipeline. I heard you use the word pipeline earlier. Me personally, this is Kevin talking, can't stand the word pipeline. Because a pipeline assumes what you put in is what you get out. We use an interstate with multiple on-ramps and multiple off-ramps. Students may not be introduced to STEM in K to 5, but they will be in K 6 to 8. It's an on-ramp. Maybe not in high school, until high school, another on-ramp. What are your off-ramps? In high school, what are we doing to prepare students to be employed right out of high school, right out of the community college level, and right out of college, right out of grad school? Those are your off-ramps. So our mission at the CIC is to make sure that we are preparing the students through teacher empowerment and providing those students with opportunities, because as much as mom and dad hate the thought, not everybody's going to go to college. Not everybody's going to go to community college. How do we create productive citizens that solves a national security issue that we have in our country? How do we do that? It's by creating opportunities for students to whatever they want to do, to be employable. You saw the job numbers. It's astronomical. And I think about how I graduated high school and I got an industry-based certification. I'm going to make $40,000, $50,000 a year. Wow. I go to college with certifications and credentialing and computer science background, I'm going to make $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year. I'm thinking 24-year-old make $80,000 a year? I'd be dangerous. Maybe it's good I went into education. All jokes aside, it's about the opportunities for students. What are we doing? So we have partnered with the STEM Coalition in Arkansas, and we are making sure that teachers in Arkansas have these resources. We need distribution channels. I still go to communities all over the state. You heard about us? No, not a clue who you are. I'm going to tell you about some free stuff. We're also making sure we're engaging students in the formal education silo, which is in class from 8 to 3, but as well as the after-school programs. So what are we doing is robotics clubs. We're bringing a RARC, Regional Autonomous Robotics Circuit, to the state. We're going to host it in 3 different areas around the Little Rock area. And what this is going to do is provide students with an opportunity to compete in robotics competitions. And we're doing it at an affordable rate. I hope nobody gets offended by me saying this, but Lego's expensive. And that is a huge barrier to entry. So when I go into rural communities who may not have the nice resources as a big metropolitan area will have, I want those students to receive the same things as these students. And so we've made this affordable. $50 a team compared to the $300 a team that it costs for Lego. Again, it's about creating opportunity. How do we get the low socioeconomic economic members of our society engaged? How do we get females engaged? How do we get minorities engaged? We've got to give them those opportunities. We've got to give them those opportunities, because what do you want to be when you grow up? That fundamental question. Are we making them have it? Are we keeping them from saying, I want to do this. No, your school doesn't have those resources. No, let's remove that. Let's make sure those students have those resources in whatever region of the state, whatever region of the country, so we can, with confidence, when a teacher walks out of that classroom, can say, you know what? I made sure I introduced every student of mine to the jobs that are available. I'm going to stop there and see if there's any questions we want to go, any directions we want to pull. I know that was a lot of information really, really quickly. You're right.
I'm just glad you're starting way back at kindergarten through grade 5. And the main thing for parents is you got to go ask questions at your schoolhouse and say, are you doing this? Because if they're not, maybe your child should not be going to school there. And I'm not saying this program's better than the other programs. What are you doing? Hands-on. That's the important message here.
Right.
This is exciting.
So my cards are circulating around. I know some of y'all are in higher ed and in industry and things of that nature, but we partner with each one of those entities. Working with UCA right now on a couple of STEM projects that are going across the state. Obviously working with the STEM Coalition. There is no silver bullet, right? And so we have to work with each entity and figure out how do we make sure that our K-12 friends are getting the resources that they need. Coming from K-12, I know the frustrations. I know I got to teach all of this in this much time, and I realize that struggle, and I relate to that struggle. But let's not work harder. Let's work smarter, and that's how you create a systemic and a sustainable change in K-12 education. John, thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, sir, for being here today.
Thank y'all for listening.